I would have to argue, and I would have to say right now today, that LeBron James is the best player in the NBA. Here's why I said, the best player in the NBA gets it done on both ends of the floor. LeBron James is getting it done at the age of 40 on both ends of the floor at a high level.
All right, Wendy, is this LeBron's most impressive season? And you've been covering LeBron since high school.
With all due respect to you and Perk, no. I mean, LeBron's had some amazing seasons. Okay. I will say this. I do think it's remarkable that Luka arrives the first week of February.
Yeah.
LeBron's reaction is to be the player of the month, which he hasn't been in 5 years. I mean, I don't think you have to draw you a map on the way LeBron thought about that trade.
Yeah.
Just because I have been given this, I just want to say I have a few regrets. Okay. One of my regrets is in 2017-18, which was the last year LeBron played in Cleveland, that I didn't vote for LeBron for MVP. And I just gave Harden all those flowers. Harden won the MVP that year, and I voted for him for MVP. And I do regret that vote, because the longer I've thought about it, the more I've realized how great LeBron was in this season. He was 33 years old. The Cavs, Kyrie had been traded, and they were the 4th seed. He played every single game that year, 82 games. He led the league in minutes. Okay, his stats were very good. He had he's had better statistical seasons, but his stats were very good. They go into the playoffs. They go to Game 7 in the first round against Indiana. He had a game winner at the buzzer in that series. They get to the next round where they play the top-seeded Raptors. He destroyed them, blew them up, and hit
in case he loses his job because of it.
Yes, and hit a game winner in that. And again, I say a game winner. I'm not talking about with 7 seconds left. I'm talking about shots at the buzzer. Hit a game winner in that series. And they go play the Celtics without home court advantage. He has a brilliant series and leads them into a win in Boston in Game 7. Go look at how many teams have won in Boston in Game 7 in history. It's just not something that's done.
Yeah.
Then they go into the finals and the famous J.R. Smith game. But LeBron, that Game 1 of the finals is one of the great games of LeBron's career.
51 that game, right?
Yes, and then he goes and he punches the. He's so angry about the way the game ends. He punches the chalkboard and cracks a bone in his finger, and his numbers take a dip after that. And people can say whatever they want about that, but that season I have an incredible amount of respect for, and I'm not even necessarily arguing it's the best ever.
Yeah,
it's underrated. So since this window was opened, I wanted just to shine a little light on that.
How about the season of his first championship in Miami? After losing to Dallas and then coming back the next year, averaging 27, once Dwayne Wade gave him the mantle and said, yo, this is yours. This is your team. We can't win without you. I take that into consideration as well. But I get where Perk is coming from. I don't believe this is his best season. I think we've seen him be absolutely phenomenal in other seasons. But I get where Perk is coming from, because you're thinking about the changes that have taken place. Anthony Davis being who he is, having to evolve your game around that, then him being traded, Luka Doncic coming on board, and then having to step it up because of that. In that regard, a different player, different style. Not to mention the fact that Luka didn't have his legs out under him as of yet. And then you see them collectively elevating themselves defensively. I get where Perk is coming from. It's just that LeBron in his prime, when the brother was still averaging 27 instead of 24, when he was jumping over, little Lucas is what I call him, John Lucas's son, when he jumped over him for dunks, when LeBron was doing the kind of things that he done, when he went into Boston and dropped 45 and 15 in that pivotal Game 6 after blowing it against Dallas, and everybody and their mother came to TD Bank Garden to see LeBron James lose again. This is what we were thinking. Man, you messed up against Dallas in the finals, and then here you are again on a cusp of getting bounced out by Boston with KG and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Rondo and all of them brothers. They smelled blood. Doc Rivers is coaching them. They thought they had him, and LeBron looked like a man possessed. You walk through the hallways in Miami for the longest time. They had LeBron bent over, eyes looking like a man possessed, this in another stratosphere, and played like it. Those moments, that was a moment in the season, but throughout the season, he had been exceptionally well that year. So I'm not going to say this year is his best, But I do understand where Perk is coming from.
Not only do I see where Perk is coming from, I emphatically agree with him. Because all of those moments that you just mentioned, what was he not then? He wasn't 40. And I don't want to out anybody here, but I would like to believe that we are all in our 40s. And the thing to me that's most impressive
50s.
about LeBron is not just, there you go, and looking good too, Stephen A. You better claim that. I'm 50 years old.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not even just that his numbers have largely preserved over the last 5 to 6 years. In fact, I think he's shooting better this year. Maybe he's having his best statistical shooting year ever.
Arguably.
It's the idea that he's even available at this age. Because when we talk about the greats and their declines and the age of their decline, you could just look at Hakeem Olajuwon or Kobe Bryant or Shaq. Why did they see those sharp declines towards the end of their careers? Because they weren't available, because of injuries, right? Expand it beyond the NBA. Peyton Manning, Ken Griffey Jr., Albert Pujols, these Hall of Famers, these legends who saw these declines. Why? Because of injury. The man's played in 55 games. His minute usage is really on par where it's been for the last 5 to 6 years. The idea that this man at 40 years old is even available to play, and not only playing, but also keeping those numbers up. I think that to Wendy's point, because you're absolutely right. Like when you said that earlier, I looked into the season a little bit more. I remember the Kyrie stuff, and I think that it will go down as one of the greatest individual performances that we've ever seen. He quite literally put that team on his back. But when I think about this season, I think about efficiency, adaptability, his ability and knack for staying on the court despite his old age. When we talk about ageless wonders, and Tom Brady always comes to mind, and that's fair and that's fine. And he is always, I think, going to be the gold standard, although I think that LeBron's coming for him. It's the level that he's playing at. When we expect that we're going to see Steph Curry playing into his 40s, and I assume that we are, you know what Steph doesn't play? Defense. LeBron James purely being able to be on the court night in and night out, and the way he has preserved his body to be available for his team makes this, in my opinion, whatever happens from here on out, championship aside, the most impressive season that he's ever had, because he's doing it at 40 years old, and no one's done it to this level, other than Tom Brady, that we've ever seen.
Well, listen, if he's holding the trophy at the end, let's revisit that. Because if that's, because you know the season isn't complete, I will say something with Stephen A. Those 3 years in Miami, after the first year, the whole first year he was just off. He's still mad he didn't win the MVP that year. That year, I don't take it back. Derrick Rose won the MVP. He earned the MVP. A lot of people think he should have won 5 in a row. I'm not one of them. I would give him the 2018 MVP. Those 3 years in Miami, Stephen A., his second, third, and fourth years there, especially his fourth year there, because you know you've talked about how Dwayne was really on one leg that year, and he carried them in. That was LeBron's athletic peak. That was his athletic peak. He was never more dominant physically than he was those years. Miami got the best of that. But you know what else happened? They taught him. He learned from Dwayne Wade. He learned from what Eric Spoelstra was doing. He learned the value of efficiency that enabled him to, when he got into his mid-30s, to be still having years that they could be argued as his best years.
Well, when we talk about a shooting percentage, listen, L, I can appreciate the fact of what he's doing at the age of 40. There's no